Bon, Boozoo, Banny, Sha, Sophie Walten, Felix Kranken, Rocket, Shadow Man. Bon. The first tape smiles like a welcome video and then lets the mascot stare too long. In company introductory tape, Bon is the blue rabbit who sells family fun and quietly teaches you to watch the wrong details. The hook is simple and sharp, a cheerful suit that keeps its gaze when the edit cuts. Bon. Performance pressure shows in the training lines that ask you to engage with the character, not the person inside it. If a performer locks up, the brand keeps talking anyway, and that is the real danger. The tape treats silence like an error to be patched, so the mask learns to keep the talk going while people fall out of frame. Bon. Mechanically, the mascot is a loop of posture, wave, head tilt, and a taut smile you can hear even when audio drops. The pattern repeats until your nerves smooth out, and that is when the wrong frame slips by, a grin held too long, an arm that does not rest the way joints do. The craft of fear here is repetition with a single missed beat. Bon. Some viewers argue the suit is just a symbol, a stand-in for corporate rot with no agency of its own. But the clearest frames push back. When Bon lingers near a static smear and we hear an off-page voice lose confidence, the symbol bites back like a presence. If it were only metaphor, we would not feel the room get colder. Bon. Versus other mascots, Bon wins because he is the default. You cannot avoid him by skipping to a later tape. He is the home screen. That gives him reach and time is where analog horror does its work. The impact is wide. You will not trust a friendly puppet to end a segment on time again. Bon. Verdict. The open door smile is the first trap, and once you learn its rhythm, you are ready to see the next act. Boozoo. The puppet MC arrives with stage lights and a lesson about choices. In Boozoo's Ghosts, he hosts a bedtime show that keeps changing the rules. He tells you to pick a door, then punishes you for wanting to win. Boozoo. The stakes are measured in resets. Each wrong choice wipes a name, a face, or a memory. You start to learn that the game is not broken. It is rigged to teach despair. Under pressure, viewers click faster and miss the small notation that the stage is not real wood at all, just painted grief. Boozoo. Craft-wise, the tape uses low color, cardboard edges, and a metronome of dings to make you think you are safe. Then, a wrong facial pose lingers 2 frames past polite. That is the signal that the door you want is not a door, it is a mouth. Boozoo. Counter-readers say the show is only a parody of moral panic television and that the ghost talk is satire. But when a choice leads to a punishment we have already seen in a family member's arc, the parody line breaks. The clearest evidence is the off-camera apology that never arrives. Boozoo. Versus Bon, Boozoo is meaner in public. He punishes in front of the lights. The impact is a new fear. Not of monsters in dark rooms, but of officials who smile as they grade your test wrong. Verdict. If a host forces you to pick fast, slow down, because a slow count is armor. Banny. The rabbit mask does not sing. She types. In Bunny Farm, Banny is the coder, the interface, the tool that promises access if you play nice. You meet her as a helpful overlay and end up reading an obituary written by a keyboard. Banny. Pressure shows up as a health bar for trust. Each glitch in the farm game peels away a layer of clown paint and reveals a ledger of missing names. The more eager you are to unlock secrets, the more the tape trains you to ignore how the secrets got locked. Banny. The mechanics are UI tricks. The cursor drifts, text that reformats itself, buttons that switch places after your eyes move. This is analog horror using software body language. You feel tricked because the menu behaved like a person who smiles while stepping sideways. Banny. Some say Banny is neutral, just a terminal reading old logs. Yet when she forces outputs that align with one man's version of the story, neutrality dies. The clean frame of a blinking prompt turns out to be a stage where grief gets edited into cute graphics. Banny. Versus Boozoo, Banny is colder because she never pretends to care. The impact is a tech lesson. Do not assume the interface is on your side. Verdict. If a system offers secrets fast, ask who benefits from you learning them now. Sha. The shark is not waterbound. Shah arrives with a grin that matches a torn laughter track. In a maintenance tape, a creature with a shark frame flickers where a human should be. It is not a sea monster. It is a punchline that bites. Shah. The stakes are clear. Approach the stage wrong, and the grin gets closer. Performers operate on a schedule, and any delay gives Shah a gap to enter. A worker drops a tool, the edit hard cuts, and the next shot is a smile positioned 2 inches deeper into personal space. Shah. Craft-wise, Shah is a mask of teeth assembled from poor tracking and burn-in. The designer uses a single feature, exposed grin, and rides it through dark rooms until you feel watched by a jaw. That is efficient horror. One motif. Endless pressure. Shah. Pushback says Shah is just a visual gag, but when the audio scuffs carry breath and the camera correction follows a non-human rhythm, a gag becomes a stalker. The clearest proof is the way other characters stop filling the frame correctly when the shark is near. Shah. Compared to the dog mascot, Shah is pure predation. No nostalgia, no warmth. Impact. You will never trust a smile presented without eyes. Verdict. When the mouth arrives before the face, back away. Sophie Walten. The daughter missing, the voice that keeps trying to speak past edits. Across tapes, her presence is a trail of half-finished sentences and stitched photos. The hook is blunt. A family story pushed through corporate training media until only ghosts fit. Sophie Walten. Pressure lands on viewers who want to help. The tapes weaponize empathy. The more you lean in to hear her, the more misdirection you absorb. The cost shows as late discoveries. Dates that do not line up. Faces that move behind their own portraits. Sophie Walten. Mechanically, Sophie is built from real voice, then reshelved in game dialogue and promo lines, so that truth must climb through layers of branding. You learn to trust cracks in the veneer. A breath, a falter, a word spoken over the music. Sophie Walten. A counter-reading says Sophie is only backstory, but the cleanest frames show the camera itself changing behavior when she is near, producing respectful quiet that the series rarely gives. Backstory does not move the lens. Protagonists do. Sophie Walten. Versus any mascot, Sophie turns the series from monsters to harm we can name. The impact is heavy. You stop hunting jump scares and start counting who failed her and when. Verdict. In a library of masks, listen for the person who is not allowed to finish a sentence. Felix Kranken. The smiling suit, the partner whose choices echo louder than any demon. When the brand voice says, "Everything is fine," Felix is the reason it is not. The hook is his charm. A salesman cadence that sells safety while pouring gasoline on memory. Felix Kranken. Pressure sits inside every maintenance line. If budget is thin, he cuts corners. If a performer is tired, he asks for one more take. The casualty risk is quiet. The pieces that break do not shout, they drift, and by the time you notice, a life has already slid out of frame. Felix Kranken. The mechanics of his fear are bureaucratic. Forms, revisions, approvals, and the smooth denial that turns a crisis into a meeting. You will see him through a grin and a handshake more than through blood. That is why he is lasting. He is the kind of monster a filing cabinet can hide. Felix Kranken. Some watchers blame the anomalies only, but the cleanest narrative spine points to human failure first. When a tape pauses on his polished look while a bad decision loads, the series is telling you where to assign weight. Felix Kranken. Versus the Shadow Man. Felix is scarier because he is real. He does not need static to work. He needs a deadline and a smile. Impact. You will start asking who benefited from each edit you see. Do not glamorize harm. Focus on craft, logic, and psychology. Verdict. The devil in a tie makes worse monsters possible. Rocket. The dog mascot looks soft and becomes a grief container. He shows up as a helper, a friend for kids, and then the scenes around him warp into confessionals. Rocket does not chase you. He sits where you loved him last and waits for you to remember why that hurts. Rocket. The measurable stakes are in memory triggers. A photo of Rocket at a storefront, a sticker on a lunchbox, a jingle that still scans. Every reminder is a trapdoor. The brand trained you to let him in, so you lower your guard on cue. Rocket. The craft is warmth as weapon. Gentle color, rounded edges, a melody that never resolves. That unresolved note stretches your nerves like a wire until any pop of static feels like a loss, not a jump scare. The design is precise, but this dog was built to be a monument. Rocket. Some argue he is harmless, only a comfort amid worse things. But the frames where someone addresses him like a missing friend are the opposite of safe. The dog is a mirror pulled from a drawer every time the story wants you to ache. Rocket versus Bon. Rocket is quieter and stronger. He carries the story of a family, not a company, and that makes him stick in the mind. Impact. You will fear the ad jingle that never fully fades. Verdict. When kindness is a costume, it can hold a whole tragedy upright. Shadow Man. The void face is not a character we meet at a party. He is the gap that characters fall into. In glimpses, he is a vertical smear with a posture that knows you by name. The hook is silence. When he enters, even the tapes act like they stepped into a church. Shadow Man. The stakes are existential. If he is near, your sense of time and ownership of your own story start to drift. The casualty risk is yourself. Your will to insist on what happened the way it happened. This is a monster built from the absence of contest. Shadow Man. Craft-wise, he is lens pathology, vignetting, roll, chroma sync, and a center mass that eats color. He reads as a hole in the medium, not an intruder, which makes him feel final. If the camera dies before you do, you stop being the main character. Shadow Man. The pushback calls him a red herring, but when multiple arcs kink around him and stay bent, the clean inference is that he is the gravity in the room. It is not an accident when light refuses to land on a single silhouette. Shadow Man. Versus everyone else, the void face is the last step in escalation. He reframes the whole premise. This is not only a story about haunted performers, but about a media format that can decide who gets to exist. Impact. You will not trust a video that cuts in right when you start to feel better. Verdict. When the frame itself becomes a mouth, the only safe act is to step away in one peace of mind. A vignette to ground this. A viewer watches Bunny Farm alone and keeps pausing to copy a note. Later they realize the notes are not theirs. A different handwriting has slipped in, rounder and more patient, and the page looks like a letter from someone who did not get to send it. Another vignette. A night guard in a training clip stamps a form and hums the company song under his breath. He looks into the camera, not at the viewer, but toward where he thinks a supervisor island. The hum shakes once and stops. He signs anyway. The tape pretends nothing happened. What does this teach us? To carry away. That the scariest faces are not always the ones with teeth. It is the grin that holds past the cut. It is the host who makes you pick fast. It is the coder who moves your buttons when you blink. It is the businessman who says, "All is well," while the lights dim. If that is true, then the way to watch is to count beats, to listen for the wrong breath, to pause when a menu begs you to hurry. The series is a manual written in mascots and apologies, and it keeps teaching the same lesson. Systems do harm when no one slows down. So here is the field rule. If a tape tells you to relax, stay curious. If a smile outlasts the scene, name it. If a choice comes with punishment dressed as fun, step back. And when a void shape arrives where a human should stand, protect your story like it is the only warm thing in the room. Bon, Boozoo, Banny, Sophie Walten, Felix Kranken, Rocket, Shadow Man. 8 faces that map the series from cheerful to unlivable. Watch once for scares, then watch again for patterns, because the patterns are where the truth lives.